Hello, subscribers. Welcome to Subscriber Show 49. We're going to have a big old chat about many things. I don't know where to start. We'll start with Xabi Alonso, just to get it out the way. The heartbreak. How gutted are you? Disappointed?
Yeah, quite disappointed, to be honest with you. I mean, I get the thing of like, you know, perennially, annually, all the time. I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. You know, just always looking on the bright side about absolutely everything and all that. But I was in on Alonso. I'd sold him to myself about, you know what I mean? And when we mates would talk, when we were having a pint, we'd talk about him being the next Liverpool manager. And, you know, you could see it. I could picture him doing the press conferences. I could imagine him in the dugout. You know, I could just, even the things like, you know, the late winners from Leverkeusen and all that kind of stuff. Leverkusen even being like a bit of an underdog. All of those things, just all of it had said, yeah, he'd be perfect to slot straight in. Obviously played for us, obviously won the European Cup, obviously was well liked, obviously was a bit classy. All of those things are just like, yeah, he'll just slot nicely in. And it just seemed like, I don't know, it just seemed like that was definitely what was going to happen. All done, all dusted, don't need to worry about it. You know, we'll wave Klopp off, hopefully having won the league, the Europa League, the League Cup. I'm going to say thanks very much, and it'll be sad, but then we'll usher in Alonso, and he's got red pedigree, and that'll be all right, and off we go. And that's not going to happen, is it? And like, you know, when the news broke, bad news, Paul Joyce, over Easter, I just put straight away, you know, on Twitter, I said, like, you know, I was all in on that. This is not very Easter. And then, of course, you got all the tweets back saying, could still be resurrected and all this kind of stuff, which was mildly amusing. But yeah, I'm still sort of, I haven't had enough time yet to A, process that, and B, decide that I like someone else yet. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had a bit of a look at the Sporting fella just to sort of get up to speed on that, because that seems to be the.
I haven't got that far yet.
Yeah, I just did a bit of reading around him, and sounds great and all that, and you know, lots of things point to a fella that can turn things round and can challenge an elite and all of those things. But perhaps a bit disparaging from my respect, but I'm a bit like, it's only the Portuguese league. You know what I mean? I'm less sold that is a evidence of quality, and I'm sure. I mean, we are live, aren't we? I mean, someone might say in the comments, well, what about Mourinho? And I get it. Look, he might be brilliant. And Liverpool have got a lot of links, haven't they, pointing towards Portugal already, and things like that. And maybe it was all done, and you know, maybe Alonso was a whole big smoke screen, and who knows? Might be one of those things we never find out, like I always say. But yeah, I'm not there yet. I haven't processed it. I haven't moved on. I'm in the grief period. So, what about you?
I think I'm in the same place, because it's I suddenly realised when like they had another come from behind to win in the last minute, and all of a sudden I'm not arsed.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like I was like emotionally bought into Leverkeusen winning the league and them doing really well, and every time they're behind, like they'll come back. All of a sudden I was like, I don't give a shit. I couldn't care less.
Yeah, we battered them in the final.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Hope we batter you in the final and like make you look like he's shit, and we'll go, he is overrated. And then I feel guilty because I love Xabi Alonso. And yeah, I'd done the same thing. I think I'd built up the story in my mind that everything was going to be all right because we'll get Alonso. And I keep coming back to this thing that we've talked about already about the fan base being unified.
Yeah.
And I just can't be arsed. I think that's the big thing. Like even doing this show, I can't be arsed us doing a show that involves talking about Liverpool if there's a massive argument about whether the manager's even good enough.
I know.
Because we do just take for granted now that that's just not a topic of conversation, is it? For 8 years, that has not been a topic of conversation. Beyond every now and then, people go in, including us, it's all right to criticise him, you know? Like, that's how high he got in everybody's hearts and minds. Like, Klopp was so good and did such a good job all across the club that even to criticise him on podcasting with your mate, you had to go to each other. it is all right to criticise him, you know. He does get some stuff wrong.
He said, didn't he, Klopp, in his very first press conference, he said to some of the print journalists, I think it wasn't in like the main one, I think it was in the little sort of the secondary press conference that he held, if you like. He said, like, he almost was like warning them, like setting down some ground rules for them, and he was like, you know, don't be making out that, you know, I can walk on water. And like, here we are now, he basically can't he? You know, as you say, there's lots of us that'll go into bat for him, me included. And it will be a sad day when he goes, and, you know, we're processing that while at the same time trying to enjoy the season and try and, you know, all hoping and praying the season ends on a high. And yeah, as you say, you know, everyone was... There was very few dissenting voices about the idea of Alonso, wasn't there? You know, there's a few people saying things like hard act to follow, which is the same for any manager. Yeah. There's the, you know, is he a bit young? Is he too inexperienced? All of those things. But I think most people in the end were like, out of the candidates, to look at the long list and think, yeah, he's the one with the link to Liverpool, all the rest of it. I've seen a few more people coming out and saying, you know, your shout when we go back a few weeks of, you know, could we not have Pep Lijnders?
Should it be Lijnders now? Yeah, well,
but
I was thinking that.
He's being linked to Ajax, isn't he?
Well, I saw that, but it's funny, isn't it? Because
and he's ruled himself out.
Well, he ruled himself out back in the day when this all got announced. But this is another one of those things, and the Klopp news in itself shows how little we know about what's going on behind the scenes. And for all we know, remember I showed you something a few weeks ago, and we never ended up talking about it, about like a statistical analysis, and you were like, yeah, it's all bullshit anyway. But
I didn't like that.
The statistical analysis done by these data, but at the end of the day, we know our owners like that. Like, lots of football is run based on data now, and the data showed that Amorim, the Sporting Lisbon manager, is a much better fit for what. If you want someone similar to Klopp to carry on what Klopp's doing, he's actually a much better fit and ticks more boxes. And on data points, is much higher and a much better fit than Xabi Alonso. So for all we know, behind the scenes, as you say, Alonso might have been a smokescreen. But for all we know, the owners might have wanted to appoint Amorim and thought, well, it's going to be hard to appoint him because the fans want Alonso. So that's the worst thing you can do, isn't it? We've seen that before. If you appoint someone when the fans wanted someone else, that person's got a hand to nothing from the very start. So you don't want that. So they may be thinking, oh, great, we can get the fella we actually wanted now. On the flip side of all of that, going back to the Lijnders thing, I've been thinking, Matt, what if they'd been thinking, well, the only reason we wouldn't have Lijnders is if we could get Alonso. And if you can't get Alonso, does Lijnders become your next best bet then? Because the resurrection point's funny, isn't it? I can't imagine if they said to Pep Lijnders, do you want the Liverpool job now? Would he turn it down? I've seen people debating this and saying, and there is a part of me that says Alonso has made a wise decision. But I saw Paul Merson saying, and someone said this to me about Graham Potter. I thought Graham Potter was crazy to take the Chelsea job when he did, because of the club it is and how dispensable you are as a manager and how it can just kibosh your young career. But Paul Merson made the point that many people said about Potter at the time, which is, well, you can't just assume these jobs are going to come around again.
No, that's it, isn't it?
So
because
Alonso might never get offered the Bayern Munich or the Liverpool job again.
Exactly that. You know, whoever does take the job in the end, you know, they might come in and be successful. They might come in and be the right fit. They might come in and do 10 years.
Yeah.
And by, you know, in 10 years' time, well, where's Alonso's star? It might have fell by that time. You know, exactly. At the minute, you know, his stock is high, and it'll be unbelievable if Leverkeusen go on and win the league, which it looks like they will do. Absolutely fair play to the fella, do you know what I mean? And like, you know, I think a lot of us were already sort of sold on the trajectory he was on anyway. And, you know, he did an interview way back with the Anfield app where he come across really well before he'd gone to Germany. So, yeah, I just think, I mean, I look at it now and just think, you know, you've said already that we have got a fan base where we attach prestige to this job, and rightly so. When Klopp came in, it was like, right, we've gone and got the best in the world, and bang, and no one had an argument with that. Lots of people had an argument with Brendan Rodgers. All of us had an argument with Roy Hodgson. I'm not saying we're going to end up going down that road, obviously not, because where we are, the standing of the club, what we've recently been doing, I mean, we could be league champions. You know what I mean? Like, we could be league champions, you know, Europa League champions, and we could be holding the League Cup. You know, we could be holding a treble and saying to the next manager, come in and continue this. That's not a bad thing to be walking
into.
With
an unbelievable squad,
With an unbelievable squad. Okay, a few things to sort out in terms of, you know, some of the big players, Trent, Virgil, etc. There's a bit of a contract issue looming there and things like that. But then that's another pressure, isn't it, on the owners to say, well, what makes them stay? What convinces them that Liverpool are going places? And I don't know. I mean, you know, do some of these names do that? I think Alonso would have done. And I think Alonso would have unified the family. Now it feels like you've got the problem of not only are you following in the footsteps of Klopp, you've also got to convince us that you're the man. And I don't see any of the candidates there now that would have universal acclaim from, you know, from the fan base. It's just not there, is it? I mean, I've seen people going on about Nagelsmann.
I know. Well,
like,
look, I'm going to throw.
He's like anti-Klopp. He's like a fella who falls out with players, falls out with the media, briefs and all, you know, plays all those sort of games. No, mate. Like, why would you turn to a fella like that? And he wears body warmers.
I thought that would be the first thing you'd say. I thought that was your first objection. It's funny because I knew we were going to talk about him, because I thought, I'll just get the odds up of the next Liverpool manager show, just as an aside for our Patreon shows, because it's mad. When you start typing something into Google and it comes up like trying to predict what you want to search for. So I put the odds for the next, and the list is next US president, next Liverpool manager, next Aberdeen manager, and then 2 down is next James Bond.
James Bond.
So the next Liverpool manager is the most searched for thing behind next US president, which doesn't surprise me.
Is Jurgen Klopp in the odds to be the next James Bond?
He should be, shouldn't he?
He'd actually do a good job.
So yeah, so Nagelsmann. Oh, it's not funny. Alonso's still 4th favourite.
Really?
Yeah, that says a lot. So it's Amarim's favourite. He's odds on now. De Zerbi's 2nd favourite, but he's around 2 to 1.
Yeah.
But Nagelsmann's 3rd favourite. Pep Linders is 5th. So, but I don't know where he stood before. But so Nagelsmann was who I was thinking of. I was going to mention him because they're all perfect examples. I said to you when we were on the main show talking about De Zerbi, and this sums up how much I've changed over the years, and you learn and you get a bit older and stuff. But De Zerbi strikes me as a bit of a Rafa Benitez.
Yeah,
and I don't think that's what we need right now.
Yeah,
we don't need someone who's going to be like, even what you said, you're being him in a press conference and someone says to him, well, what do you think about staying here as manager? And he's like, yeah, we'll see, depends. You're like, we can't be, we don't need that right now. We need a manager who knows how to talk in press conferences and isn't like a little bit odd and says the wrong thing. Do you know what I mean? I know you can't be Jurgen Klopp, but you need to have something about you, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure about saying like you don't like 80% of English refs. Remember that one? I mean, look, you know,
Who said that?
Him, De Zerbi.
Did he? Brilliant.
And, you know, and it's a bit like it sounds if we say it, and look, Klopp's had his run-ins with officials, which we all know, but I just don't think that's not a helpful comment, is it?
But we've also said in the past, Klopp gets away with saying some things because of who he is and the way he says it, his personality. It goes back to the Rafa rant thing. If Klopp had delivered what Rafa said in the Rafa rant, it would have come across really well because he was making good points, but he delivered it really badly because Rafa Benitez was quite awkward when it came to stuff like that. And De Zerbi strikes me as the same. Something I was going to say to you is, I've never even heard Amarim speak.
No.
So I don't know. Does he speak great English?
Yeah.
Is he charismatic? And that was the thing about Alonso. You pick anyone off this list, including Linders, by the way, and the fan base is immediately split. We could have a manager where me and you disagree on whether they should be the manager. We're doing this show, and you're like,
I don't think it should be Linders.
I just can't be arsed with that.
I like Linders. I think he's boss, but I don't think. I think he'd split the fan base. I don't think everyone would be behind that.
Well, they're already split.
There's people like fuming that he wrote a book.
Exactly. I was just going to say that. There's already people who blame him for our bad season because he wrote a book. As if he's put something in that book that other coaches and managers are like, Get onto this.
Yeah.
Look at what he's put here. He's giving away all the secrets.
Like every game's on the telly and every game's like analysed by a team of analysts, but something he said in the book is giving away all the secrets. I just wanted to mention what we were referring to there about the Xabi as well. So after they got beat 4-0 by Roma, he come out and spoke to the press and said, I think today will have been a lesson for everyone at the club, starting with the president. He meant Tony Bloom, the owner and chairman. It was the first time that he's been in this competition as well, so he too will get better in the future in terms of organising everything that the team needs and that I need to manage for the period between January and March. Just unnecessary, that, isn't it? You know, you think about Klopp and you think about times when there's been clear frustration at us not doing the things he wanted to do in the transfer market, and you could see it and you could draw the dots, but he did never say it, did he? Like, I think he said things like, of course there were times when, you know, afterwards.
Yeah.
And that's been the clever way to do it, hasn't it? You know, you've got to have that sort of nous and be able to, you know, temper your emotion a little bit to be able to say, this is a good time to say it, and this is a really bad time to say it. And on the evidence of this, De Zerbi's not particularly good at that, is he?
Yeah. I think that's interesting. Do you know what, something else is interesting? And look, it's interesting what you say about Pep Lijnders, but goes back to the thing we said about I just don't think the list of available candidates is that great, because it doesn't take you that long. You get past Lijnders, you're at Thomas Tuchel, Postecoglou, Gary O'Neill, Marco Silva. No. But you know something just popped into my head, and I thought, well, let me scroll down and see how far you've got to get before you get to him. Bearing in mind, he's being talked about as potentially the next Man United manager. Gareth Southgate.
Behave.
But think about this. I would want him to be Man United manager. I said this last week. Think about this for Man United. You would think if they're going for someone, he's one of the best managers in the world. So we'd be looking at him as well, wouldn't you? Do you see my point? Like, you think Barcelona looking for a manager, they're going to be looking at the same managers. Bayern Munich looking at managers, they're going to be looking at the same managers. It says everything that the bookies are like, nah, Liverpool wouldn't have Southgate.
Absolutely not.
He's so far off, like, he's so far out the running. Guess who's next on the list after him on the odds? Roy Keane. that shows how far. I mean,
some of these are just daft, aren't they? Michael Carrick's on here.
Well, Michael Carrick's like just ahead of Southgate.
Ruud van Nistelrooy. Come on,
that's wild, isn't it?
Hang on, Ruud van Nistelrooy is 50-1, the same odds as Steven Gerrard. I mean, if I was Gerrard, I'd be fuming about that. You're like, hang on, come on, it's not that mad. Yeah. Like, I played for the club, I was the captain.
Yeah, am I that bad?
You know what I mean? Ruud van Nistelrooy, Mikel Arteta, Bielsa, Lee Carsley. Lee Carsley scored the winner in a derby for Everton. Yeah. No thanks. Mind you, I mean, he is what? How far down is he? 66-1.
Yeah, I mean, you get
no
past,
one stuck a quid on that. Surely.
Once you get past 5 people, it's like
Rafa Benitez.
It's no one. It's no one, is it? But I think that's the point for me about Lijnders. I just wonder, like, at any of them, and that
Moyes is on here.
Fuck off. What odds is Moyes?
100-1 for Moyes. Hodgson's on here, 150. Biscan, 175. Carragher, 175-1. Nathan Jones. Remember him?
I know, but you know what this is? I'm about to say, this is mad. I'm about to say Carragher should be shorter odds than someone who's actually a manager. But he should be. It's mad that Carragher's longer odds than Roy Hodgson. If they're trying to tempt people to have a bet.
Robbie Fowler, 250-1.
That's offensive to Fowler, isn't it?
Phil Thompson, 250-1.
Phil Thompson, just sitting in his house at home watching telly. And what?
Yeah, what?
I don't want to manage Liverpool. Well, there you go. I mean, but isn't it interesting that you wouldn't have Lijnders? So are you saying hammer him now? For you,
I mean, that seems to be like the direction of travel, doesn't it? Both in terms of bookies odds, but also in terms of what journalists are talking about and all that kind of stuff.
But even like, forget all that. Like, for what's available, is there anyone else you'd want?
I don't know. I'm looking at that list now, thinking.
You love Thomas Tuchel, don't you?
No, I absolutely do not. He's another one where
he's another one ruled out on his coat.
And just the way he acts and just his demeanour, and he just doesn't say Liverpool manager to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. What you
like I'm looking at Postecoglou now, going, oh,
yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Could you bend back around?
Like if he went back to being that Sam fella and less of the narky fella.
He's not going to be less narky being Liverpool's manager.
He might be made up. It's his dream.
Well more pressure. It's well more pressure.
Do you reckon he'll apply? Do you reckon he sent his CV in?
You would if you were him, wouldn't you?
Do you reckon he's gone to like Manpower and said like, you know, have you got the account with Liverpool? Is that sort of thing? Manpower,
the recruitment consultants.
Yeah, I used to get work in the warehouse off them. just
send your CV. Is that how you do it? Just fax your CV.
Just
to the
ring
club.
Manpower up and say you dealing with. Nah.
Would you want to do it? We could be like a Houllier and Evans doing it as like a.
I wouldn't want to.
No.
I'm happy going.
Not even for £7 million a year.
Holly Bobs in the comments says can't do Ange. Sorry.
Can't do Ange.
No. I mean, like
I think I'd have hammer him on the basis that we don't really know him, so there's more chance of everyone getting behind him because we don't know him. So we can start with like, we'll just everyone give him a chance. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't feel offensive in any way. You know what I mean? It's not like it's not Hodgson.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't done. I haven't fully done my reading on him, like as I say, because of where I am in the process. But if and when I have done it, and I don't know, but I can already hear what some people will say. It's the Rodgers thing again. You know, why does he deserve it? What's he won? Is he this? Is he that? Where's his pedigree in your, whatever? There'll be something.
Well, I don't even know. It looks like he will win the Portuguese league, doesn't it? So that is winning a major European league is a big deal.
Yeah, of course.
And it's better. What would you say the Portuguese league is? 4th or 5th? It's ahead of Holland.
Yeah. But equally, every time we seem to play a Portuguese side,
we batter them.
It's never normally.
But there is a thing about us recruiting from there, isn't it? That it's a similar type of footy. Like it's similar to the Premier League in that it's competitive and the style that people play is similar. So there is that. They're
only. I mean, they got a game in hand as well, but they're only a point clear from Benfica at the moment. They played 26. Benfica have played 27.
So and look, we need to, now that Alonso's out the running, we all need to. And I know everyone else has started doing their shows and all that on it. We all need to do our research now, don't we? Because I don't even know. Is it his first season? Is this league push his first one? Has he had one before? I don't even know any of that.
Probably shouldn't keep saying we know nothing about him when we're trying to.
Well, I know we're going to stop. We're going to stop talking about him now until I know more about him. But yeah, sad that what we thought was the big backup isn't going to happen. But who knows? Maybe one day. I think it's funny, isn't it? Because I do think Gerrard will be out there thinking. I saw Rooney talking about his managerial career, and it's something. It made me think about Gerrard because I think we're in that day and age now of like everything has to be now. When Gerrard could be, when we were discussing why did he go out there, and Gerrard might be thinking, well, I'm going to be a manager for 30 years, so I can spend the next 10 years making sure I get better, and then I don't need to be Liverpool manager.
But he's signed another deal in Saudi, hasn't he?
So he can make himself financially secure.
It doesn't achieve anything, that though, does it? It doesn't make your stock rise or fall.
But from a coaching perspective, nothing. But maybe he's getting better. Maybe he feels he's getting better as a coach. Maybe he's learning how to like structure an entire club and work with players who aren't as good, and that makes him a better coach. You never know. And because if you look at it more in the long term, and Alonso might be doing the same thing. How old's Alonso? Similar age to us. He could have 20 years left. So he's like, it'll come round again. It'll be fine. I don't need to be impatient. But anyway, let's move on. It made me sad when he said he wasn't going to come. So I just wanted to get out of the way. One of the other things I wanted to talk about was as I was scrolling through Twitter before, I was trying to find if they've actually tweeted since, but I couldn't see before we started the show. When I was looking for stuff for the main show and always looking for stats and different things that would come up. Terminator's just gone. We should have mentioned this, shouldn't we?
Told you that he'd fall over.
Yeah, well, you put him up, so.
No, but it's shoddy workmanship.
Now that we're in our new studio, we can. The lads here will let us keep things here. So if you want to send us any stuff,
his gun's
put
gone.
on-
Yeah, where are they going to send it to?
I wasn't going to put his gun on. I think that makes him more
We
unstable.
haven't got anywhere for them to send
Anyone
it to.
who's listening to this is like, what are you talking about? We've got some gear to put on our desk to fill out our studio. It looks a bit weird at the moment though, because it's just Bill Shankly, the Terminator, and Ringo Starr. So if you don't know what the links are to old shows, you'd be like, what the fuck are they doing? But if you want to send us anything to add to our studio, we're going to build it out now and put more stuff in. So get in touch with us and we'll figure out a place for you to send it to.
Yeah, as someone pointed out there, he has already won the league as well. This would be his second one.
Oh, it would be a second one. Oh, well, that's something, isn't it? That is something.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, definitely.
So, well, let's go back to so as I was looking for stuff for the main show before, I was looking at Opta Joe, like their Twitter, and they're usually really reliable for like good stats that you can throw in. And you mentioned the other week, because they always tweet in the same way, don't they? Like you said, like they give a number, then they explain what it is, and then they give one word. And on a tweet I saw, and it just went, it was 32. This was the tweet, 32. Man United have had more shots where it would have been a goal if it had been on target than any other team this season. Leathered. And I read it and thought, that's it. I literally copied it, put it for our agenda, and put to send to you. This is in a world of mad stats and XG and all this stuff now, this is the maddest stat I've ever seen in my life. They've had more shots where it would have been a goal if it had been on target. That's the type of thing my dad would have said. I'm like, shut up, you're talking shit. And then later on, there was another one, 11,731. Rodri has now played more minutes with his shirt tucked in than any other player in Premier League history. Neat. And then, and I'm reading, and when something starts going off in your brain, but then it was the Brentford one that made me go, what the? Brentford, 9. Brentford have scored too early, more than any other team in the Premier League this season. Premature. And you're like, that's mad.
Come on, mate. I mean, like, this has got one of my mates as well. I'm looking at the WhatsApps, and he's going like, what is this nonsense and all that? And it's like, I don't know. I mean, maybe I haven't worked in newspapers and...
Did you get onto it straight away? Like, would you got it? Because I read
I've
them
been
in that
getting onto
order.
them all day, and I just think, whether it's my age now or whatever, but I'm just bored of it.
But did you know what day it was? So when I wake up, I don't know what day it is. So I'm not waking up thinking it's April Fool's Day.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
So I didn't. That wasn't in my mind. So it took me going through these tweets to go, it's April Fool's Day, isn't it?
I mean, there was all kinds, wasn't there? Chans Alpino posted about these Adidas that you could get.
Today, was this?
Yeah. Everpool and Liverton. Adidas trainees with, like with one back's got the Lara Bird on, the other one's got the, St. Rupert's Tower as a Everton's badge. And again, I was just like, sound. And like, I just think they're all a bit shit now, me. I just, I think it's been done. I've seen enough of the earth now where I'm like, there isn't one of these that is good.
Do you think it's mad it's still going?
Well, I think it's mad that people put like Facebook statuses up and expect like to catch some people out with it, like, you know what I mean? And some of the attempts just make me groan. Like, I'm just like I say, maybe it's just me being a miserable fella now and me being of a certain age, but I just can't take to any of them. And like, I'm in like, given what I've done and what I'm doing and all that, like, so I'm in like various groups, and I'm in this like comms group for people who work in comms, and there's various people that I've worked with at different places who just happen to be in the same group. And I seen one of my old bosses put a post in, and I thought it was right. I agree with that. And she was like, if any of you are thinking of putting out a press release or putting out a tweet because you think it's funny, because it's going to work for April Fools, it's not going to work. It won't be funny. And more than likely, you'll get backlash, which means it's not even... Just don't do it. Just enjoy Easter.
This is in the current
Have
job.
the day off. No, this is an old boss of mine, yeah. But I thought, yeah, I'm in full agreement. And that might make me sound grinchy, but I just think, nah, Like, just and look, you put on the agenda, and I see a few people tweet that today. The classic from the Shoot magazine, Ian Rush on the front in the Everton shirt. I mean, that was good because that was a different time, and you know what I mean. We didn't have the internet and all the rest of it, and so like that did cause a stir because it was different. But now with like information being everywhere and all the rest of it, I don't believe anything anyway, me now. And I don't mean in some kind of conspiratorial way, but like, you've got like Blag Paul Joyce accounts, Blag James Pearce accounts. There's always like fake news about Liverpool.
Yeah.
And
so it's like April Fool's Day all the time on social media.
Yeah,
anyway,
and so anything I see, I'm always like clicking through into the profile, checking it is actually them, seeing how many followers they got, checking that it isn't like a slightly jarg version of the profile or whatever.
Yeah.
And that might just be me. I mean, I've been caught out in the past or whatever, undoubtedly, but I think now I'm just like tuned into it and I'm just like, you know what I mean?
It surprises me it's still going. Like, because I feel like we're in quite a cynical world now. And I feel like April Fool's Day was quite an innocent thing. Do you mean like that perfect example for people who are watching, listening, who've never seen it? Like, Shoot was a football magazine. I'm sure loads of you remember it. But they had the front cover, which world exclusive Ian Rush signs for Everton. But as you say, back in the day, that was a magazine. Like, I think it's even hard to comprehend that now, isn't it? Like, that was a magazine that was published. And I'm sitting there for, Shoot was probably weekly, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it says on there every week. So for a whole week, that was their front cover, and like that's a big deal for them to go with that as a joke. Well, and it would have got people. Even
just Ian Rush in an Everton shirt, I feel like then everyone would have just had a bit of a laugh about it once it it registered and clocked. Whereas now, I mean, I seen someone tweet, it might have been what's he called, the one who got hacked.
Phil McNulty.
Yeah, I think he tweeted about it, saying like, imagine the process you'd have to go through now to do something like that. It just wouldn't happen.
Thing, yeah.
Because all these levels of like media people that work for clubs and how safe they are about everything and the media training and all of that. It just wouldn't happen now, would it? Imagine ringing up, ask to speak to press officer or whoever. So we've got this idea, right? Just want like Mo Salah to pose in an Everton shirt. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Why not? Yeah. Well, there's this sponsorship deal and there's this image rights to think of and there's this and there's that and there's the other. Would never happen. Would never happen, would it?
No, I don't think it would. But it is, I don't know. This is pure like on brand, isn't it? Like middle-aged complaining, which will take us nicely into the next topic. I think it's quite sad, don't you? There was something about a good April Fool's joke, but is that just an age thing? Like, I wonder if we'd have asked our dads when I thought it was funny. If I'd have asked my dad about a good April Fool's joke, would he have said what we're saying now?
Maybe
because he's had enough of it.
Maybe. I feel like the Echo used to do them, didn't it?
Yeah.
When there was more focus on print. I don't know if it's done one today. I haven't clocked, but yeah, it feels to me. But as I say, it could well be an age thing. It feels old hat to me.
Well, it's funny because I think you're right. I think it's because we live in a world now where, well, what's the difference between an April Fool's joke and the shit that's usually on the internet?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It says a lot that I didn't realise it was April Fool's Day, and it took me 3 mad stats to go, oh, these are wind-ups. Like, I've just read the first one, like, as if, oh, fucking hell, stats have gone fucking ridiculous now, haven't they? Stats, it doesn't even make any sense. And I even clicked into replies. Do you mean, like, that doesn't make it? The Brentford one, I was like, that doesn't even make any sense. And I was reading the replies, and, like, not one of them said, Joe, I must have scrolled through 30, 40 replies, and not one of them said, well, this is an April Fool's joke, isn't it? It was people saying things like, well, why? How can you score too early? What, you meant to score later than that? But like proper, just falling for it.
So what we're getting, rather than comments on the YouTube feed, which is the place where I'm looking, where it feels like that Mod Rocks knows much more about potential Liverpool managers than us. He's also said he does speak English, if that helps. Christian Murray's lashing a load of comments on into Patreon, direct into the comments there. Nice. So just looked at my phone and it's like, brrr. So we've got, we'll never get Xabi's top 50 shoegaze and indie alt rock classics playlist on LFC TV now, which is a blow. I meant to mention that. I mentioned, didn't I? He's into good tunes, Xabi, as well. Yeah. So I was sold for that reason as well. But now, no. I will probably never know what tunes the next manager's into now as well, because he won't be cool enough to have shared it, like Xabi.
Well, shoegaze is your thing here as well, isn't it?
Oh, wow, yeah, big time. I went to see The Amazing Stairs at the weekend. They weren't shoegaze, but they are from a shoegaze era. But yeah, he sent us absolutely loads of comments there, and then in typical Yadar fashion, oh no, I was going to say, and I now can't see them. Yeah, old man yells at April Fool's tweet, he says. He says Neil Warnock has just left Aberdeen. I mean, that's not news, is it? That was the other week. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah, is that because I mentioned my thing? It was on the list when I searched next thing.
In terms of a potential for Liverpool, yeah, all right. I mean, we've already covered Neil Warnock in depth on a previous show, haven't we? We have. For our football knobheads occasional feature on the show.
I saw I can't remember who it was, but one of the famous, like he's a well-known pundit, you'd know him, and he's Scottish and clearly an Aberdeen fan. And I just saw a little clip of him on Twitter last week, just saying, is it Graham Hunter or Ian Hunter, something like that. Anyway, saying like when Warnock got.
Graham Hunter's the Scottish journalist who covers Spanish football. Is that you mean?
Graham Hunter. Yeah. And he was just saying, I can't remember the phrase he used about when Warnock got appointed their manager. And he was just like, I was absolutely furious about it. Like, couldn't believe it had been done. It's a disgrace. Was delighted the day he left. And I was like, good for you. Don't sit on the fence, Jesus.
I mean, to be fair, he never really had. But I mean, like, that was mad, wasn't it? Like, 75-year-old Neil Warnock being, your go-to option there. Like, I mean, as someone has said in the comments there as well, whatever Liverpool do and whoever Liverpool appoint, it won't be Roy Hodgson. There is at least that. It can never be that bad again, can it? Do you know what I mean? It can never be that. We can never be that wrong again, surely.
You would think so.
Just everything. Oh, I'm not going to do it again. But just everything he did.
How did you get there?
That's
interesting, isn't it? Like, if you think back to this.
I can remember what he said. Process. Still sticks in my head. Steady the ship.
Yeah.
No.
But that sums up how bad things were back then, doesn't it? Again, Joe, for our people who criticise us for complimenting the owners, that shows how bad it was back then. That there was an idea that you needed to steady the ship by appointing Roy Hodgson. Jesus, how so far bad. We've come.
Yeah, so bad.
Anyway, random change of topic, but still on the old man shouting at things topic. I haven't even told you about this, have I? Have you seen what I've put? So I went. Joe, we mentioned last week about taking the food in the cinema.
Oh yeah.
I went to the cinema. I like going to the pictures, to the big one where you can put the chair back and that.
Yeah.
And I went on Saturday like late afternoon to watch Ghostbusters. Just a nice little late afternoon.
The original?
Out. No, the new one. There's a new one out.
Oh.
And it was quite busy, and there were people talking in there, like teenagers.
You've done this before?
I haven't.
You have?
No, not. Well, this is new.
You've talked about 8 people talking in the cinema, and you challenged them.
No, not in the cinema. Not challenging. Well, I shouted at them this time. So I was going to ask you about it. I've talked about. I think you're thinking about when I went to a Jason Manford gig, and told off some fellas behind me for talking.
Was it that? Go on then.
That's a bad side, isn't it? Copey, you've talked about this before.
So this time you're shouting at people in cinemas and not at a comedy gig? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but I actually shouted in the cinema.
Oh, wow.
Jesus, so I was going to ask you about it. Where are you with it? Me and Siobhan were chatting about it afterwards. Because I was sitting, so you're in the dark, and you can hear people talking. And I'm sitting there thinking about it. And at first I was even like, is that people talking, or is it in like, is it in the soundtrack? Do you know when you're watching like the ads? And so I'm like, they're definitely talking. And I said to Siobhan, are people talking? And she was like, yeah, but talking like loud. Do you know, as if the sound of whatever was on was annoying them, so they were having to talk loud to talk above it. And you're like, that's a bit mad. And I thought, but it's just the ads, so that's fine. I'm not asked about the ads. Then the trailers came on and they carried on, and I'm sitting there thinking about, what should I do? Like, should I get up and go and have a word with them? But it's dark, so you can't. And maybe it's because my hearing's been fucked up for all the years of going out to clubs and that, but I couldn't figure out where they were. And they carried on talking right the way through the trailers, right up until, do you when the curtains open that little bit more and the thing comes up and of the name of the movie, so you know it's about to start. And so I'm thinking, they're just going to carry on talking, and I'm going to have to get up and go across. And it just came out to me. I just shouted. I shouted out. I went with my instincts went with, it's time to stop talking now, knobheads.
Did you get out and back, like?
Complete silence, and they stopped talking for the entire show.
There you go then, there's your answer. It's a win.
What's your take on? Because we were chatting about it on Twitter. I was saying to Siobhan, what do you think, honestly? Like, are you? And she was like, no. She was like, well, I was going to get up and go and tell someone and get them to come and stop them talking. So
it's definitely it's obviously one of the most socially unacceptable places to do that, isn't it? Obviously, you go there, you go in to watch a film. It's not even cheap anymore in most places. Although the one by me is all right, Waterloo. But yeah, obviously, like once the film starts and they've give you the little warning about turning your phone off and all that, you don't carry on then. Although I do remember, obviously going back a few years because what the film is, the last Rocky that came out, I watched that in Bootle, or Switch Island, whatever you want to call it. And I actually enjoyed some of the talking that was going on in the cinema, because it was these absolute lids who'd gone and watched it. And like early on in the film, there's like someone giving Rocky a bit of stick in the street or whatever, and they were going like, shit, don't have that rock and all that. And it was just like this scowl commentary to Rocky, which was actually quite funny, because I enjoy that. Like I enjoy listening to soundtracking of moments sometimes. Like I had a good one when I was walking to the match with Cara on Sunday. So I'm walking up, ground in sight, and I've no idea what these lads were talking about, but the one line that I just heard was, and lad, I just bounced out of my kitchen like Vin Diesel, lad. And I just had that in my head then all day, going, what's he on about? Like, what's going on? Why was he like Vin Diesel?
I like the way you picked Vin Diesel. Why Vin Diesel?
I know, don't know. So I enjoyed that. I enjoy like little random shouts like that sometimes, because they can be funny, can't they? There's a famous thread, or if you know it, it's famous anyway, on Red and White Cop, and it's like I heard someone. It's along the lines of, I heard someone say this at the match today, and it's been going like forever. As long as that forum's been there, or as long as I've been dipping into it, that thread has been there, and I really enjoy that, because I've got some of them. I've got things that I've heard people say at the match. I think we've definitely talked about that before, haven't we? Yes, some fella once just stood up behind me and said to what was that lad called who played for Bolton? Kevin, the one who always had his elbows into everyone.
Kevin Davis.
This fella obviously didn't like Kevin Davis, and he gave him various stick through the game. But at one point he'd like fouled a Liverpool player or whatever, and he just stood up behind me and went, "Fuck off, you sausage dinner." And I just loved that, sausage dinner. And then he came out with something about not being able to trap a pig in an alleyway or something like that as well, which again was quite enjoyable. But yeah, so little interjections like that, well, maybe, but just random
in the right place.
Yeah, just random chunnering away during a bit. Like, why have you gone?
But that's the bit I don't really get. Like that, if I was sitting down and chatting with them nicely about it, like, I don't understand what you're doing. have you come to watch the film? Because if you have, you can't hear it while you're talking.
We talked about it at gigs as well, didn't we? Like, you know.
Well, that's when we did talk about the Jason Manford thing. I think that is even worse. Oh, well, is it? I don't. They're
but
equally,
it's depending on the.
They were middle-aged fellas as well, which I didn't get. I was like,
depends on the gig as well. I think so. Like, you know, if it's a lot, you know, sounding like an absolute half fella, but if it's a loud band, if it's a rocky band, whatever, and they've got stacks right up to the ceiling, and
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, but like if it's like intimate fella with an acoustic, well, obviously not. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What I'm finding now, I'm quite enjoying, by the way, is I feel as though everyone's a bit more clued up to the fact that if you absolutely blast music at people at a gig, it might do the hearing in. And so, like, I've noticed this change over a few years now. So some gig venues now either give you or offer you earplugs. But not only that as well, some of the bands that I'm into, I mean, like The Stairs as an example, who I went to see at the weekend. First time I saw them was 1992, and I saw them on Saturday. I noticed they were only in the small bit of the academy in town, what I still call the L2. But not that many stacks, do you know what I mean? Like, it's like most of our audience is going to be in the 40s or 50s, so let's not blast them. And I've noticed that with a few gigs I've gone to of, like, you know, bands of that vintage. They don't stack the stacks up to the ceiling and absolutely blow you away. It's still loud, but, you know, your ears aren't ringing for a week afterwards, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I think we've chatted about that before. But I think this is it. The interesting thing about this, I think this was the discussion we were having afterwards. Like, is this just because we've become middle-aged? Or because I was saying, what I was saying after this incident was, but when I was and this is proper like middle-aged chat, isn't it? When we were
fields
lads,
around here.
No, but it was like that's how society carried on running, how society operated. We talked about this at being in the match. The way the culture continues, the way you want it to, is that the older generations teach the younger generations what's acceptable and what isn't. And when we were growing up, it was acceptable for what we are now. Like, but that we are those people. We don't look like our dads looked in their 40s when we were growing up. But at the end of the day, we're old fellas to teenagers in the cinema. I'm an old fella.
Yeah.
And back in the day, there would have been old fellas telling me off if I was noisy. And that would have been part of the culture. Like that was a socially acceptable thing to happen. You tell them off. But I remember saying to you when I told you about the comedy thing with Jason Manford, I didn't feel any like, yeah, well in for that. Like, it's a good job someone said something, or I was about to. I'm sitting there thinking, if I don't say anything, I don't think anyone else is going to say anything here. So that's why I wanted to chat to you about it. Do you think we've reached a point where I shouldn't actually do that? Or do you think we need more of it? Like, should there be more of us going like, no, you can't do that. You can't behave like that. I remember someone telling me about Germany. There was somewhere they lived in Germany, and it was still part of the culture. So people would come up and knock on your window and go, you can't park there. You're not allowed to park there. And if I allow you to do that, everybody else, this whole place goes to shit. We've got to keep our standards in this town or whatever. And they would tell me about it, and like, it felt like very old. It felt like England 30 or 40 years ago, where there's more like communal pride, and we keep things ticking along.
We talked about this before as well, so that's gone, I think, or a large part of that's gone. And that respect for your elders thing, is a large part of that is gone. And there's loads of, you can't touch me, you can't speak to me, I'll get you done, blah blah this, blah blah blah. And then I think some of it's connected to the internet. You look how people act in comment boxes as an example, or social media. They honestly think they can say or do anything, including, libeling people, including commenting on cases when they're active and things like that. They just feel like they can do and say what they want, unchallenged. And if they are challenged, that their go-to is to immediately label someone a paedophile or something like that. And you're like, wow, do you know what I mean? I mean, I'm not saying I was always the most respectful kid. I definitely gave stick back to elders, playing footy and getting told off for playing footy, and I might have told a few people to do one or whatever. But definitely not to, like, it feels like that's ramped up and gone through the roof and disappeared over the horizon. That level of, you know, and we talked about before on here about, you know, people just not giving a shit, lashing. I mean, I spotted one, so rant time. I spotted one the other day, and and then I've spotted it a couple of times elsewhere now. And I'm like, what is this thing of people taking a bag of rubbish and putting it by a public bin? Not in it, just by it. Oh, that'll get picked up then, won't it? You scruff. You know, you absolute scruff. Like, how bad is that attitude? Like, I want to get rid of that. I'll just go and put that by the bin and someone else will deal with that then. Deal with it yourself. There's a tip. You know, you'll have your own bin, put it in that. Do you know what I mean? And like, it's just this like, someone else will do it. Lashing stuff out of car windows and all that. Not picking up dog shit, which we talked about before. You know, we're doing a lot of old man recap here, but honestly, does my head in. Like, do you not care about where you live and what you're growing up in? And, you know, do you not care about the example you're setting your own kids as well as another one? And clearly with quite a lot of people, the answer is no. We are walking this earth with a lot of balance. End of rant.
Do you think we need to start a campaign? Like, we need more middle-aged people to be like middle-aged people used to be. It's our responsibility. Because I was thinking isn't it our responsibility?
But how do you change the time? Like, you know, if you ever, like, the problem with what you did there in the cinema is you might have got some Scarl who've gone, oh, what, lad?
Yeah, well, Siobhan said to me afterwards, she went, when the film ended, she went, there could be someone waiting for us here. And I went, yeah, but they don't know who it was, do they? Like, because it's dark. But at the end of the day, I'm not arsed. But you're right, that's why people don't do it, isn't it? Yeah. It's like, well, you could get stabbed. And you're like, yeah, that's mad. That you could get stabbed for telling someone to shut up in the cinema. You're like, well... But this is the thing, it's like, that's the problem, isn't it? If everybody stops because of that fear, instead of everyone saying, no, this is what we should do. Next time you hear someone, I saw someone saying this about, you know, comments that you hear in footy grounds, whether it's racist or misogynist or sexist. If you hear someone saying something and you don't say something yourself, but you hear someone else challenge them, back them up. Yeah. Don't just sit in silence and stand in silence. Back them up. Don't let them stand alone. Make sure they've got support, because that's the only way you make the person then go, oh, all right, I can't do the whole, I'll stab you, you're knobhead, I'll knock you out type thing. Because that's what you need. If more people went, yeah, I'm with them. Don't be a knobhead. Don't be talking during the pictures. Don't be doing this.
But lots of people are just happy to just scurry away and get back into their little cave and close the doors and turn the internet on, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? And doing anything sort of community spirited.
Yeah, that's the problem.
That's my massive sweeping statement this week.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? We've only got a few minutes left. We could go to different places with this, but because I was going to talk about we didn't talk about the world going even more Black Mirror the other week, but we'll save that for another day. I wanted to have a little moan before we go. We'll just carry on the theme of having a rant before we leave. I was late today for the main show. I made us all late, if you're watching the main one, because I come from Wooltown in the Wirral these days, so I have to come through the tunnel. And I tend to leave things late anyway. Like, whenever I travel anywhere, it's something I'm working on. Like, if Google Maps says it takes me 5 minutes to get somewhere, I leave 5 minutes instead of accounting for the fact that I have to get out my car and go somewhere at the other end and stuff. But when I got to the tunnel, there was a ridiculous queue. And when I got to the front, I realised it was because they've put the price up. So obviously everyone's getting to the front who's got money. They're still paying with cash. And they've got their £2 ready because it was £2. And now it's gone up to £2.10. And it just made me think of us having, you know, a common theme through us doing this for the past year of moaning about, like, prices just going up randomly. And I was just laughing to myself going, that's a price hike to get through the Mersey tunnel. Based on what? Like, what's changed about running the Mersey tunnel? Bearing in mind that I remember I've talked about this in the past, but as a recap, I remember my uncle saying to me, he remembers when the Mersey tunnel was built, and they said at the time, we're going to put a toll on it so that to pay for it. So as soon as we finish paying for it, it'll be free. And obviously, as soon as they'd finished paying for it, whoever owns it and was getting the money was like, well, why the fuck would we stop charging everyone now? Let's carry on charging them, because now we make a load of money. And now it just gets to the point where they're like, we're just going to put it up by 10 pence and get an extra.
But the thing is, people accept this, and like this is not just over the tunnel or food or beer or whatever. Like, you know, footy tickets. You know, we had that on the agenda to talk about the other week, and I don't think we got there in the end. And I had loads to say on it as well. It should probably be, you know, another show somewhere along the way. But, you know, I find it really depressing that loads of people now just sort of go, well, it's going up again, Hardy, yeah, sound. And it's like, with minimal research, you can look at the turnover of football clubs and go, they don't need to be doing that. That's a conscious decision to say, in a cost of living crisis, at a time when people are paying over the odds and the wages aren't matching how much the basket of goods has gone up, blah, 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 they're putting it up anyway. And they're all doing it. You know what I mean? Like, there's this conscious decision which feels like they might have all spoken to each other, which wouldn't be, you know, the maddest conspiracy theory ever. They're all putting them up. So, you know, last season, I think it was 17 out of 20 clubs put them up. I said to me, mate, bet you it's all of them this time around, and that's how it looks. And it's like, there's just no need. And saying things like, oh, it's in line with inflation. Yeah, but if we go back to when we all started going the footy and plot the graph to where we are now, that's not in line with inflation. So the in line with the inflation thing doesn't really wash, to be honest with you. And like, you know, I've talked about it on here before, but there is like this overriding feeling that a lot of the people who are pulling the strings at football clubs these days would much prefer that the likes of me and you weren't filling those seats a lot of the time. You know, it feels to me like in an ideal world for some of those people, they would like it to be not the same 60,000 or not even the same 30,000 out of the 60. They would prefer a rotating 60,000 that turn up, spend loads of money in the shop, blah, 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 blah. And you know, we talked about before, haven't we? Not old asses like me who go, I'm not buying a pint in the ground because it's cheaper in there. I'm not getting that because I don't like, you know, whatever. Like, I heard that for the Legends game, like the sort of interest in the club shop was through the roof, because for a lot of people it was the first time going to Anfield. And you know, one of my mates took his lad for the first time, and no doubt he would have walked in there. But and that's the thing I mean. But there's a balance to be struck, isn't there, surely, with the people who have been loyal to the club for 30 years, 40 years or more, who've gone through the wind and the rain, who've been there in the bad times as well as the good times, who went when we had Hodgson, who turned up for Bolton when some people didn't, and all of that. But it you know, because I just find that quite depressing as well. Like, loads of people just shrug or aren't bothered or can't be bothered to engage. And then, you know, like you see, like Man City fans, some Man City fans had made a banner at the weekend about their prices going up. That gets onto social media, and what happens? A lot of people, instead of getting behind it and recognising the power of unity and all this, just go, what are they on about? They've got them owners, blah, 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 and turn it into like this tribalism. Nah, like the reason we've got the £30 price cap to go away from home is because supporters work together. Yeah. Liverpool supporters work with Man United supporters. They work with the Football Supporters Association. Spirits of Shankly work with Must. Whatever. Do you know what I mean? And like that power in numbers is what scared them essentially into going, all right then, yeah, we best do that. But slowly but surely, there's like a land grab back the other way now. And it's like, as footy fans who go on the regular, there's already a lot of piss taken out of us taking place in terms of moving kick-off times at the drop of an hat, or saying, well, it could be played then, and it could be played then, and if that happens, well, actually, it'll be played then. Well, sound, how do you plan for that? And again, like, you'll put something out about, like, if I went on to Twitter now and put all of what I've just said in a thread, I will get replies saying, like, doesn't matter, or what's the problem, or you're privileged that you get to go, or I just watch it on telly and I'm all right. And it's like, sound. Because at the end of the day, the people who bother to, like, campaign for these things and, you know, like, fight the clubs in terms of putting prices up and all that is minimal compared to the number that actually go, and certainly minimal compared to the number that are watching on the telly. So my appeal, if you're still listening, is get off your ass and get involved.
I think this might be where this is all leading. We'll start a revolution.
Yeah,
that's what we're going to slowly build up without anyone realising, and then there'll be a
just
late challenge. Yeah, there'll be a late challenge revolution.
Just me and you and the 10 people who are watching live right now.
Yeah.
Or something.
Well, every revolution's got to start somewhere. So we'll leave it there. Just think about that. Think about whether you want to be part of the TLC revolution. That's it. Thanks for watching as always. Thanks for listening. Thanks for supporting us. We appreciate it. Things are growing. Things are getting better week by week. Tell your mates about it if you haven't already. And we'll see you next week.
Ta-da.